Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. We're going to be looking at Northern Dynasty Minerals today.
All right.
And this is based on information that you've shared with us, so thanks again for that. We're going to really try to unpack what's significant about this company and its main asset, which is the Pebble project in Alaska. And we have multiple perspectives here. We could be considering the stock performance, potential value, and then kind of the hurdles that are in the company's path.
Yeah, so I think one of the most fascinating things that stands out right away is the contrast we see in the data when we're looking at Northern Dynasty Minerals.
Yeah.
You mentioned that the stock price jumped up to 89 cents with a 26% increase, but we also see reports showing it at 28 cents.
Right. Yeah, and it's not even just the stock price swings.
Yeah.
It's when we look at the market capitalization, like what the overall value the market is placing on the company as a whole. We've got one source saying it's around $151.96 million.
Right.
Another one saying it's $479.46 million.
Wow.
That's a huge difference.
Yeah, that's a pretty big spread.
And for you listening, that kind of spread, that's not just like a minor detail.
Right.
That suggests there's considerable uncertainty about what the company's actually worth right now.
Yeah, that difference in market capitalization really signals that there's a level of uncertainty. How is the market viewing Northern Dynasty Minerals? And it just goes to show that when you're looking at different sources, the timing of that information is critical because these numbers aren't static.
Right, absolutely. And the core of the Northern Dynasty story seems to really revolve around this thing called the Pebble project.
Right.
Which is up in Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
And from what we've seen, it seems like this isn't just like a small little deposit.
No.
This is a significant deposit that contains copper, gold, molybdenum, and silver.
And when we think about, connecting this to the bigger picture of global demand for these resources, the sheer scale of this Pebble project becomes really, really interesting.
Yeah. You mentioned some pretty substantial figures, 57 billion pounds of copper and 71 million ounces of gold just in the measured and indicated categories.
Yeah, and just so you understand, those classifications mean that there's a higher degree of confidence in the existence and amount of those minerals.
That's a lot of copper.
That's a lot of copper.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like that's a lot. That's a real resource that's there. But then it gets even more interesting, I think.
Yeah.
Because we have some technical analysis.
Right.
That gives the stock a hold recommendation.
Yeah.
And this appears to be based on recent price movements and the amount of trading, which averages around 1.5 million shares. Now, for someone newer to this, when we say technical analysis, we're talking about looking at the history of how the stock has been trading, the charts, the prices, the volume, all that.
Right.
And trying to use that to predict where it might go next.
And so that hold recommendation that we see suggests a cautious stance given the price swings that we were just talking about. And then the moderate trading activity. It basically means the data isn't really strongly pointing to a clear upward or downward trend right now.
Right.
The market seems to be waiting for more information to make a more decisive move.
And it seems like that information is very tied to the future of this Pebble project. Because we also saw something from Morningstar suggesting that the company might actually be undervalued.
Right.
And their assessment of fair value is significantly higher than where the stock has been trading.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because that potential for growth is definitely there and something to consider.
Right.
And if Morningstar's analysis is accurate and this Pebble project progresses, there could be a significant upside for investors.
Sounds like a good opportunity.
It does. However, that potential undervaluation also likely reflects the substantial risks that are associated with this project.
Right.
Especially the challenges in getting the necessary permits. The market tends to discount a stock price when there's a lot of uncertainty about what's going to happen in the future.
So it sounds like when we're looking at Northern Dynasty, we're weighing, on one hand, the potential for some pretty significant gains.
Right.
But against some pretty significant hurdles, too.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. This information really paints a picture of a company that's sitting on a potentially valuable resource.
Yeah.
But there are some considerable obstacles in actually developing that resource. The stock's up and down movement and those different market capitalization numbers really just highlight that uncertainty that exists around this company.
And it's not even just about the raw materials, right? Like, we saw some mentions of just like the difficulties in getting permits.
Right.
And the environmental concerns surrounding this project.
Right.
These aren't minor issues.
Yeah, those regulatory and environmental aspects are absolutely crucial when you're considering a project of this scale. Getting the green light to proceed is a complex process, and the Pebble project has faced a lot of scrutiny over the years.
Yeah.
The decisions made by regulatory bodies are going to have a huge impact on the company's future, and as a result, on its stock price as well.
We even noted that the company submitted a key permitting application
Okay.
called a 404 permit way back in December of 2017.
Wow.
And that was for a smaller version of their mine plan.
Okay.
So that's quite a while ago for that process to still be going on.
Yeah, that timeline underscores how long these large-scale natural resource projects can really take,
Right.
especially when environmental considerations are significant as they are here in Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
Securing those permits is a major milestone, and any news, whether it's positive or negative, in that area is going to be something that the market will react to.
It's interesting that even with the recent price jump that we saw in one of our sources, at least one of our sources is still indicating the stock is trading at a discount to its perceived value.
Right.
It really does suggest that the market is constantly trying to balance the potential of the Pebble project with the very real risks that are involved in actually getting it off the ground.
Yeah, and what's particularly interesting for an investor to observe is how the market is trying to find that balance. The recent price increase could signal renewed optimism, but the fact that it might still be considered undervalued just shows that some doubts remain, some uncertainties remain.
So as you can see, this look at Northern Dynasty Minerals presents a really complex picture.
It does.
On one hand, the sheer scale of the Pebble project and the suggestion of undervaluation offer a compelling potential upside. The recent price surge indicates investor interest, but the volatility and the ongoing challenges in securing permits are significant factors to consider.
The technical analysis provides a cautious stance, highlighting the difficulty in discerning a clear trend. And the discrepancy in market capitalization figures also underscores the dynamic nature of the information surrounding this company.
Ultimately, what stands out is the intertwined nature of potential reward and considerable risk.
Right.
The future of Northern Dynasty appears heavily dependent on navigating the regulatory landscape and the development of the Pebble project. This raises an important question for you.
Right.
How do these factors align with your own investment approach and risk tolerance?
Yeah, this exploration really highlights the importance of doing your own homework
Yeah.
and understanding all the different angles when you're considering investing in companies that are in the resource exploration and development phase.
Yeah.
It's not just about what might be in the ground, it's about a whole range of factors that can influence the outcome.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us for this focused exploration. If this kind of analysis sparks your curiosity, be sure to subscribe, like, and comment to let us know what other areas you'd like us to explore in future discussions.
Sounds good.